Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Phillips and the rest of the crew has to say. As always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast. Happy Wednesday, August 20th to you and yours. Benny, you got beat. David Terry was here 5 minutes early. He was ready to roll. I appreciate everybody for their support and the love and everybody that joins in here on the Recher podcast. Again, follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube. We're trying to get those subscribers as high as humanly possible. That 5,000 mark is going to be tough to beat by the end of the year. Damn it, my nephew lost and wanted to get $5,000. I don't know if we're going to get there, but let's try to get up to $2,000 maybe by the end of the month. Let's keep this rolling. Man, what a great show yesterday. We honored the late, great Tony Saladino, who we lost yesterday morning at 89 years young. It was a really nice day to be able to see all of the messages all across social media. And, you know, it continues. And I put out a post earlier today recognizing some of the best from the opening segment yesterday. So again, that's all on my social media platforms at Recher. Go check that out. Our pal Joe Urso is going to join us at 1:25 today. Head coach of our University of Tampa Spartans, 10-time national champions. He's going to join us and give us his perspective. There's really nobody better to be able to talk to about Tony Saladino than Joe, who ended, he played in the Saladino tournament as a high school kid in Plant. And then was able to coach UT, where Nico Saladino, Tony's grandson, played. It was really, really good stuff there. So he joins us at 1:25 today. At 1 o'clock today, Doug Waechter is going to join us to talk about the Summer of Kaden, as I like to call it. His son is everywhere, crushing it for Jesuit. He's going to be a first-round pick next year. And also discuss what the hell has gone wrong with these Tampa Bay Rays pitchers for far too long. I feel like we're not talking about the elephant in the room. And, our buddy Devin Garnett put something out yesterday on Twitter, like somebody on DAE today is going to say, oh, the Rays still have a chance of making the playoffs. I don't know so much about that, but the pitching has not been up to par. And this is something that has been the foundation of the success of this franchise since, it's started having success in the Joe Madden years, and it just hasn't been good enough the last couple of years. And do you blame Kevin Cash? Do you blame Kyle Snyder? Do you blame the pitchers individually? I mean, there's enough blame to Eric Neander for how he's constructed these rosters. I think there's enough blame to go around, but to completely ignore what's wrong with this team, and the pitching is a huge part of it. So we'll talk about that with Doug Waechter at 1 o'clock. At 12:30 today, Casey Phillips is going to join us on the program. Buccaneers team reporter. Did you see the top 50 list starting to be unveiled last night on the Buccaneers YouTube page? Phenomenal. So cool to be able to see these Buccaneers being honored. Martin Gramatica and Ryan Jensen, a few of them, JPP, Cam Brate, really, really good stuff. And I thought last night the job by Scott Smith and Casey Phillips, it was incredible. So Casey's going to join us at 12:30 to talk about the top 50 list and also what she's seen so far in Buccaneer preseason. Here in a couple minutes, we're going to talk about my biggest takeaway from practice today, and also hear from head coach Todd Bowles, who spoke candidly over at the Avon Health Training Center at One Buccaneer Place. Let's get to some of these questions, comments, and concerns that you have. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them there at the bottom of the screen. And also, if you want to chime in, you're always welcome to join us using this link right here in the chat. StreamYard.com/WJ3KP4068. You just click on that link in the chat, whether you're on the phone, whether you're on the laptop, and you can join in on the conversation. If you want to chat with us today, we're always going to bring you on. Let's get to some of these questions that we have here. Our pal Louie from the Frozen Pirate Pod. Emeka Ibuka Rookie of the Year, maybe, with McMillan being out, more targets coming his way. I was not a believer in the Emeka Ibuka for Offensive Rookie of the Year campaign before Jalen McMillan got hurt. Because to me, it always comes down to targets. And I'm not a guy that's going to sit here and brag that I'm a fantasy football expert, but I've been playing fantasy football for as long as it's been around. And the one thing that I've always had success on, and another thing where I just don't understand why people don't give this advice out more. For receivers, it's about targets. It's about target share. And a lot of times, if you have two big receivers, you're going to get beat out in the long run by a team that has one guy that gets a bunch of targets. So I didn't think, even though I thought Emeka was going to be a good player, I didn't know if he was going to be fantasy relevant, right? And I don't know what that was going to do as far as impacting his offensive rookie of the year, because you still had Jalen McMillan, and Chris Godwin's going to come back eventually. The status of Jalen McMillan, he's going to be on IR. He's going to be out past the bye. We don't know what his impact is going to be. We don't know how healthy he's going to be if and when he does come back. So now that opens the door for Emeka Egbuka. So I'm definitely with that. Dolan, what's up, Jay? Anyone think Rays can still go on a run? No, I've been telling you that for the last couple of weeks. Not good. It's just the run that they went on about 6 weeks ago. That was the aberration, not everything else. You can't tell me after watching this team for over 100 games that this looks like a playoff team. It just doesn't. It's too inconsistent. And their starting pitchers have given up way too many home runs. Michael LeDuc just got my Stadium Series tickets, LFG. That is amazing. It is going to, my cousins were actually asking me about that a couple of weeks ago. They were like, how the hell are the Lightning going to play an outdoor game, even though it's in February in Tampa? I go, shit, man. I'm not the one that has to worry about that, but I'll be there. I cannot wait. It's going to be awesome, historic. I hope you'll be there too. Buck's Basement. So does Bridgewater still bring something good to the team now? People were raving his praises, but he just cost us a key weapon of ours for 9 weeks. He threw a horrible hospital ball. And I brought this up Monday when we were talking about this pass. And I know our guy, Evan Klosky, who joins us on the show, he actually talked about that on a video as he was waiting for the Rays-Yankees game last night. And he got picked up by our friends at Joe Bucks Fan. If you want to say he's, and I actually talked to Joe Buxton about this morning at Bucks practice, and they're like, well, if you're saying he's rusty, well, what about the passes later on? What about the 2 touchdown passes? And I go, yeah, but, the pass to McMillan happened before the touchdown passes. So you could argue that he was rusty there, and he knocked off the rust during a pass to Jalen McMillan, and then he was all right later on. I held my breath when that ball went in the air. It looked like a ball that didn't really have a lot of zip on it. And you're always going, but if you're going to talk about plays like that, you can pretty much say that about the majority of throws. You can say that with Baker Mayfield too, maybe about throwing a guy over the middle, or maybe, and Joe brings up a point on Twitter of maybe it's on Kyle Trask then. Maybe if he was better, they wouldn't have to bring Teddy Bridgewater in. So I don't know if you look at a situation like this and say it's 100% on Teddy Bridgewater, because I think football's football. Injuries are going to happen. But there is, I'm with you, there is a little bit of a sliver of, it's hard not to think about that. I actually brought that up in the conversation with Adam Slavon from Pewter Report yesterday. Do you fault Teddy Bridgewater for that? No, not in a way of oh my God, it's your fault, blame. But he did throw the pass, so you got to own it a little bit, right? That's where there's a lot of gray in there. It's not just black and white. Greg DeCruz, Costa Rica in the house. Bantry says, blaming Bridgewater is just ignorant. Baker, Kyle, another QB you want to name has had a ball sail on it. Yeah, that's true. Baker's not, he's more of a guy that's going to zip it in there. Kyle, you look at some of the passes that he threw, even in the first preseason game. The first pass to McMillan, the first pass to Egbuka, it did have a little bit of an arc on it. So it wasn't like he was zipping them in there either. So it very well could have been Kyle Trask making that second pass rather than Teddy Bridgewater. So I see that. I just want the new owners in the stadium announced. That's all I care about right now. That's the only thing to really look forward to as a Rays fan. Yes, because until that happens, there's a black cloud hanging around this organization as a whole. And people are looking for the future. What is going on? Can we get something done? Because you can't tell me that hasn't had a impact on the season. They'll say it won't because they don't want to use it as an excuse, but just the way it goes. For all those calling to trade Rashad White, he'll be invaluable as a receiver out of the backfield. Yeah, and we see with Josh Grizzard doesn't just use Rashad White. He might use Bucky out wide as well. Again, guys, if you remember a couple years ago when Zach and I had the discussion about trading starting pitching, you have enough depth at certain positions until you don't. And it's always that position where you think you have depth where you usually get ravaged with injuries, and you're like, thank God I have depth. We said the same thing 2 years ago when it came to starting pitching for the Rays, and we said the same thing now. Well, we will say the same thing now with the Buccaneers and the wide receivers. The deepest position group in the league. Yet not now with Jalen McMillan and Chris Godwin out. And you saw a lot of Tej Johnson at practice today, and I actually asked Todd Bowles about that. I'll play that for you here in a second. I have a feeling Chris Godwin won't be back until mid to late November. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing, is there's been an absolute transparency about the Jalen McMillan injury, and we're still kind of waiting with the Chris Godwin. And I'll tell you this, from being out there at the majority of practices, you don't see him out there all that much. Even on the side, you'll see him time to time. Whereas you see a guy like Tristan, he's always out there. I don't know if I saw Tristan today. It's ironic I say that. But for the most part, you see Tristan right in there. It's not the same thing with Chris. Why did Todd say Jalen would be out the beginning of the season, but all other reports say after the bye week? Well, this is something that Rick Stroud from the Tampa Bay Times reported. And David, I'm glad you bring this up, because this is a big difference between trusting our local reporters and our national media, right? Rick's all over this. And I actually sat with Rick for a while today, and he actually brought it up to Todd and said that same thing. And you'll hear it in a second. Todd didn't dispute it. So if it was, he would say something like, hey, it may not be as bad as you think, but, when you're talking about we're thanking God that it's not a career-ending injury, it's probably something that's going to keep you out more than 4 to 6 weeks. Greg, we have to think of Godwin and J-Mac as late season pickups. Football's a marathon. Tread water and make a big push late in the season. What's going on to my guy Bart Hill in the house? What's up, pal? Oh, look at Evolve Official with the super chat. Thank you so much. Guys, we want to keep this show going. The ways that we're going to do it is the super chat, is our sponsor. You see it right there on the screen. Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, 813-244-0956. Hit that QR code right there. My guy Russ and the family over there, Honest Hammer Custom Builders. Those are the kind of people you want to trust when you're doing these big remodels for your house. There's so many scary stories of people that just gouge you and steal your money. That's not my friends over at Honest Hammer Custom Builders. So the big thank you to our main partner there, and to our guy Evolve Official. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Every super chat helps so much, regardless of the denomination. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Dolan didn't like that. I didn't like that, buddy. Benny, I thought when the Rays announced the team is being sold, the Rays went on the run. Am I remembering that correct? I don't know necessarily, but if you're worried about outside things that are affecting you, like, you're not good enough either. Lady Evil, it actually really happened right in front of me. I don't blame Teddy. He played pretty good after that, and the throws to Bucky and Emeka were amazing. Bantry, I don't believe Penix has played this preseason. Is Atlanta dumb or trying to hide something? Listen, it's a fair question, but we see this with Pittsburgh too, like not playing Aaron Rodgers. The way that the preseason is now, I think I said this last year, because the preseason is now 3 games, and eventually it's going to be 2, and eventually it's going to be none. Just watch. Teams are all doing what they think is right. It used to be the same thing with 4 preseason games, right? They played a series in the first. They played maybe a couple series in the second preseason game. They probably played a quarter or a half a game in the third preseason game, and then you shut it down in the 4th game, and it was all backups. You guys remember that. But I told you back in the day that when it went from 4 to 3, teams aren't going to know what to do with themselves, and they still don't. There is no consistent pattern throughout the National Football League. Some play, and you look at the Bucs, where maybe you would try to ramp up. Now this year you're playing Buffalo in the preseason, and then you're going to play him in the regular season. So that completely flipped their narrative of what they were going to do. You're not going to see Baker in the preseason. You're not going to see Mike, and you're not going to see Levante. So part of it, and we talk about this with Ian sometimes every Monday at 12:30, and don't forget the Beckles and Recher podcast today at 3:00. It's going to be different, and you see both sides of it. One side of why risk it? Why risk getting your players hurt, a la Jalen McMillan? Or you see the other side of it, where you got to build up some of that, wear and tear, like on your body, so that the first time you're really hitting somebody isn't in week 1 in the regular season. So I can see both sides. Dave Velasquez, I think CG likes to work out behind the scenes like he did with the ACL. I hope so. Yeah, and it's not just the workout. To me, it's just being around, right? Just being around, because a lot of times when you see this, like, he'll be able to work out on himself. will work out by himself and to be able to do a bunch of different things, and we'd be able to see more. Just him, his presence. We haven't seen it all that much. I want to mention this too before we listen to Tabos. Parker Messick, the 2019 All 813 Preps MVP and state champion, is going to make his MLB debut today for the Cleveland Guardians against Arizona at 3:40 p.m. His dad, TJ, was texting him yesterday. I'm so proud of Parker. I actually messaged with Parker late last night. Awesome. What great news, and an unbelievable kid, unbelievable family. Cannot wait. I'm a Guardians fan now with my guy Parker out there. Shout out to USF. I know a lot of people are at the luncheon right now. We were going to have Martin Gramatica on the program. He's actually going to join us on Friday as well. So really, really good stuff there. All right. Tabo spoke today after practice over at the Avon Hill Training Center at One Buccaneer Place. Here is what he had to say.
Todd, how much do you start looking at week one against Atlanta, preparing for that versus doing what needs to get done for the rest of training camp and preseason?
We do that the entire summer. That's not a day that goes by without looking forward to that week, but still understanding that you have to get stuff done for the preseason games. But you install stuff in hopes that it'll work week one every week and every day without them knowing it. But at the same time, you still work on it.
It's been two preseason games, but what have you seen from Josh Broussard in terms of trying to establish what needs to get done on the offense and his quarter by quarter, play by play game calling?
That's hard because the first unit hasn't been out there a long time. But as far as who's in the game and how he manages them, obviously we got a rookie quarterback that we got to manage as well. The play call is a little different. Each situation in each game has been different for him. Where Tennessee, we haven't had to go into those things. And Pittsburgh, we had to go into that 2 minute, 4 minute, whatever you may call it. Situations are different for him, and he's handling it in different ways, but he's been fine.
Has he been on the field both games so far?
Yes, he has.
Is he going to go upstairs this time?
We discussed it, and we're still debating on it. I think he might like it down there, but he hadn't made a decision yet.
On the topic of coaches, what do you think of the coaching style of Larry Foote, and how many coaches have you seen wear shoulder pads in practice?
I don't think I've seen him in shoulder pads in practice, but unless he's an individual, period. Larry is a very hands-on players coach. He's easy to understand. He yells a lot, but in a good way. He puts things in very simple terms for them where they can understand. He's not just good at teaching a certain guy or a smart guy. He can teach a guy on the field. He can teach a guy in the classroom. He can teach a guy about a film work. He can teach a guy in the notebook. So that's what you call a very well-rounded coach, and we have quite a few of those.
Coach, we saw Tez Johnson really involved a lot today. How much has his involvement now changed with the injuries to Godwin and J-Mac?
Depends on how much he can learn. We still got to see him again against Buffalo. He got his feet wet last week, and he's got to grasp the offense. He's been out for a while, so he's still on a learning curve right now. But we'll see how much he can take in and see how well he does on game day on Saturday.
Ryan Miller's a guy who's entering year three now. Obviously, had some opportunities last year. How do you kind of see him grow since first coming here, and how do you feel like he's done this preseason, this training camp?
Ryan's smart. He's reliable. He's tough. He has great hands. He's going to block when you need him to block. He's going to get open when you need him to get open. He's a very good special teams player. His confidence has grown from year one till now. I mean, coming out of college as a free agent tight end, playing wide receiver, you see the toughness, but his work ethic has changed. And, I kind of knew he arrived when he cut his hair because he was walking around a little crazy before, but now he's kind of settled in and become a little mini vet right now. So that's a good thing.
So low haircuts helps you, right?
It kind of shows growth as far as your experience in the league. I'm still waiting on Zion, but a couple guys have shown it, yes.
We talked about Chuck Wilma a few times, but have you known any guys in the league quite like that story? And how difficult is it when you just didn't play football, right? You're just an athlete out there trying to learn the steps.
I don't know my Lada's full story, but I know he hadn't played a lot of ball. But he's a very strong individual, and he has very good skill set and tools for the position. It's just a matter of learning the game. And I think when he learns it, and he can learn, I think he's going to be a very tough player and a very good football player. When he does it right, there's nothing more prettier to watch. So he just got to keep getting the reps and keep growing, and we feel like we have something to work with there.
Anything else?
Coach, we know now that yesterday you said he was going to miss some time, but McMillan looks as if he won't be back until maybe sometime after the bye. Just how difficult is that? Obviously, you don't want to be without him, but it looks to be an extended time.
I mean, that's tough from a coaching and a playing standpoint. He was doing so well coming back this summer. He was very polished, gets his routed, and he competes on a daily basis, real close with everybody on the team. So that was a big blow for us. And guys just have to step up. I mean, you don't want that to happen, especially in preseason. I don't think there's a good time for it to happen, but it's a shame because his growth and his potential was off the wall. But glad it's not life-threatening. Glad he can come back later on. We just have to have guys ready.
And there you go, right? There's and real quick, Carlos Baserva. Yes, add Parker to your fantasy team today. This is a guy that keeps the ball down. He's an absolute workhorse. He is ready to go. Just like 813 preps. Can't wait to watch Parker Messick today. You're right, JG. I am with you. Yeah, I mean, you hear Todd Bowles there when he answered the question from Rick Stroud. Gonna be out a while. He's gonna be out a while when you're talking about Jalen McMillan, and you gotta. There's certain things, and you got to notice this over time, and you're a little bit of an investigative journalist, reporter type of thing. When coaches and GMs, when they bring up certain things, you kind of have to read between the lines sometimes. And no better example than what we saw a couple of months ago with Julian Breezeball when he brought up Isaac Howard's name out of nowhere during our fireside chat. We didn't really ask him, like it was him that brought that, and that kind of started the whole firestorm. And now we see that he gets traded to Edmonton, right? Because it was such a crazy, but he brought that up. It wasn't us. It wasn't like we were digging. But I mean, in situations like this where, if we were maybe a little bit too hard, like, all right, he's not going to be out that long. We really escaped it. He should be back in the first couple of weeks. Like, if there's a gray area where it could be like 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 5 weeks, maybe you said, but when it's between like 2 and 8, I don't think you're really surprising anybody, or you're unveiling this big secret, or showing your hand if you just tell people like it's going to be a while. It's going to be a while. So we're just glad that he's okay, and hopefully he'll be back for the stretch run. I mean, it's a long season now, right? It's 17 games. So if you can get him back at some point at the end of the season to be able to help you, we know what kind of worker that Jalen McMillan is. I've really loved what I've seen from him in practice early on in the season. This is a guy that is not rested on his laurels because of what happened last year, especially how it ended. I really like this kid. And if everybody's healthy, and you think about it, man, if these guys can all get healthy by week 13, 14, 15, and you finally get that full complement of Bucky, Rashad, and Sean, Cade and Payne and Devin, and then Mike and Chris and Emeka and Jalen, right? And you start looking at it like, damn, man, that's a lot of weapons for Baker and crew. So sucks that you have to deal with something like that. But as you heard, and I asked the question, I don't ask many questions, but I'm going to start asking more questions this year for football. I ask a crap ton of questions for hockey. But I think for football, I'm going to get back to asking more questions. You heard Todd Bowles saying it's up to Tez Johnson. How much of the game plan do you know? The more you know, the more you're going to play. So, I mean, hopefully for him, we saw a pass today. He made a really, really nice play. He was playing in the slot. Nice. There's just if he's doing it right and he's in the slot and he's these quick slants, like nobody's going to be able to guard that guy. He's incredibly quick. There was a play today, best play of the day. Ball down the left sideline. Guy reaches back, catches it with one hand. Guess who it was? Mike Evans. Balling. And talking to a couple of people today that were up in Pittsburgh, they were like, Mike Evans dominated the hell out of Pittsburgh's secondary. Not surprised, man. He takes care of his body. He's unbelievable. So very excited to see what Mike Evans. I want him to get some huge games early on in the season. Let's settle that 1,000-yard thing early so we don't have to wait till the end like we did last year. All right, Casey Phillips is going to join us in about 5 minutes. We'll talk some more Buccaneers there, but I want to talk a little bit about what we saw last night with the Rays. If you thought that there was any sliver of hope that the Rays were going to win or at least find a way to fight to get to a playoff spot, it ended last night. It ended, and it ended in the 5th inning. You're down 10-2, and Kevin Cash takes out Yandy Diaz and Brandon Lau. Like, just tell everybody you're punting on the season. It's over. That was a game yesterday that had 11-10 written all over it, and I'm very surprised. And I know it was 10-2 at the time, but that's not the game, in my opinion. You take out Yandy and Brandon Lau. You got to keep him in there. You don't know. You saw how the ball was flying out of the yard. Like, those are the guys you keep in there. Brandon Lau runs into one. You hit a 3. You're down 10-2. You run into one. And it's not like Carlos Rodon was keeping people off the bases. You run into one with a couple of people on. It's 10-5. It's a completely different ball game. Now you're a solo shot outside of the slam. It's just been one of those seasons. And again, with Shane Baz, I mentioned it last week, 2 weeks ago. The amount of home runs that the pitchers have given up, the starting pitchers for the Rays this year, it's been atrocious. And for far too long, we're just kind of sweeping things under the rug when it comes to the pitching for the Tampa Bay Rays with these young pitchers. Like, Drew Rasmussen isn't young. He figured him out. It's almost like set it and forget it. What is he really doing different than what he did a couple of years ago? Not much. But when it comes to Baz, when it comes to Pepio, when it comes to Taj Bradley, like, are these guys really living up to the lofty expectations we had for these kids the last couple of years? Like, be honest with yourself. Be honest. Like, don't give me the whole, rhetoric of like, well, Kyle Snyder's the best pitching coach in the game, and look at what he's done in the past. And the Rays, their identity is pitching and defense. Well, if that's their identity and they're not doing it, then what do you think is going to, like, there's no repercussions at all. And then you can blame whatever. You can blame injuries. You can blame the payroll. You can blame the pending sale of the team. I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear any more excuses about the Rays and the pitching. The hitting, we know, because they're not going to be able to go out and spend money on a 30 home run, 100 RBI bat. And then, like, look at what some of the guys have been. Like, Yanni's improved after a slow start. Jonathan Aranda was an all-star. Junior Caminero has been fantastic. Brandon Lau, for the most part, has been healthy. I mean, you got 4 good. And then Chandler Simpson has come up and done his thing. I mean, Jake Mangum, I really like Jake Mangum. Plays really good defense. He's a guy that can hit from both sides. Like, you have 6 guys that can swing it. This is one of the better offenses that we've seen from the Rays over the years, and they just haven't lived up to the billing. So what's been the common denominator this year? I mean, we said this last week. 3 guys in the top 11 for most home runs given up. You got to keep the ball in the yard to be successful, and they just haven't been able to do it this year. And we talk about this a lot when it comes to sports. If you are a team and you are predicated on certain things and you don't do those things, like, it's impossible for you to be successful. And ultimately, it costs you your job. I mean, years ago, thinking about a guy like Lovie Smith, right? When he was with the Buccaneers, he's a defensive-minded head coach. I think everybody knows that. And then when the Buccaneers defense struggled, it was like, eventually something's got to give, and it cost him his job. And then you turn it over to Dirk Cutter, right? And then it's just, you see the ball starts rolling down the hill, and then you just can't stop it. If you're a team, you're trying to find your identity. And when your identity is built around something specific and you're not performing up to expectations, I mean, you're going to be on the outside looking in when it comes to the postseason. I mean, you look at a team like the Buccaneers, and what are they built on, right? Strong leadership. They're built on these guys. It's a great balance. Your quarterback that'll literally run through a wall for you, plays like his hair is on fire, and your even keel head coach in Todd Bowles. You don't go too high, you don't get too low, and that balance, right? That leadership, that delegation of power and responsibility, like, that is part of the reason why the Buccaneers, year in and year out, whether they have ups and downs in their schedules, whether they have injuries, whether they have maybe some certain positions that underperform, that's why they still win. They still stay with it. That's why in the last 2 seasons, I look at this team and we saw it coming in the middle of the season when it came to the scheduling. We knew it was going to be tough. The murderer's row in both 2023 and 2024. But what didn't you hear in the locker room? You didn't hear anybody jumping ship. You didn't hear anybody talking smack about Todd Bowles. They stayed with the course. And even last year, when you add the injuries to Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, and then what happens? They dig their way out of it, and then they win the division yet again. That's not natural. Things like that don't happen unless you have leadership in place, and you know your identity. People know their roles, and when they perform their roles, even when they're not at their best, they're still there at the end. And that's why the Buccaneers have been successful the last couple of seasons, and the Rays have not. All right, let's bring her in. She is the team reporter for our Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the one and only Casey Phillips, the best background that we've seen so far here on the Jay Recher podcast. Casey, what's going on? How are you?
Oh, I aim to please, Jay. Thanks for having us on. I appreciate it. Great to be here. Happy to join you. And yeah, I had to come down to our fancy studio for you.
Oh, that's amazing. And listen, we'll start right there with the Bucs top 50. I don't think you could have done it any better last night. It was so awesome. And I'm thinking about it. Everything with the recognizing 50 years of Buccaneers football, whether it's the videos with the coaches and the players of, yesteryear and current, it just seems like everything the Buccaneers are doing, everything they touch when it comes to this 50-year celebration, it's turning to gold. How cool is it to be able to be around and to see them really recognizing 5 decades of football here in the Bay Area?
Well, thank you, Jay. I appreciate that. And yeah, our team has just been absolutely crushing this. I mean, there are so many people here involved in all of these videos. It has been a incredibly heavy lift on everyone. But what's so cool is when we hear a reaction like yours, a reaction like the fans to all of it, it makes all of it worth it. And that's what this was about, was really doing this for the fans, to honor the fact that this team has an incredible history and legacy for 50 years. And we have really loved getting to highlight and showcase the players, the coaches, the ownership, everything that makes this organization as great as it is and incredible to cover. And I think it's been really fun to get to dig up some old moments and plays and situations that maybe you'd forgotten about, and try to remind people of either the nostalgia if they were there and a part of it, but also be able to bring in this next generation of fans and help them get caught up to what this legacy is about for their fandom moving forward.
Casey, one of the things that maybe people on the outside don't necessarily know, unless you're like a big time member of the crew, you're a big Bucs fan, is just there's something different about the offensive linemen from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And one of my favorite things in the last couple of years, in the last decade of covering sports here, was when you used to do the show with Donovan Smith and Ali Marpet on WDAE. It was just, you could have just put the microphone and then just walk away and just let you three talk for the entire time. And then you saw it a little bit last night too, with Ryan Jensen being one of the members of that top 50 and how much it meant to him. And he looks great. I mean, he looks fantastic. And it's just, there's something about offensive linemen. And I know our friend Carmen Vitale, she would tell me about that. She goes, Jay, they're just different. They're just so down to earth. They're just so easy to talk to. But what is it about those guys from your perspective, whether it's Donovan or Ali, or it's like the new group now? They're just top notch.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there's two aspects of it. Of one, just offensive linemen in general. I do think there's something to the idea that they are probably going to be humble. They're hard workers. They're not in the glory positions, and so these are people who are willing to do whatever it takes for the team, put their bodies through so much because they just love the sport and love their team. And so just the personalities that's going to mean you're probably going to be very humble. They have to be smart. They have to be hardworking. It just creates for a really awesome interview typically, and an easy person to work with. But then of course you factor in that, everybody here at the Buccaneers cares about bringing in the right kind of guy, that I am that man philosophy. And so you're already going to be prioritizing the really good guys, the really good locker room fits. So it's just taking that and even upping it. But yeah, the offensive linemen are always some of my favorites on the team, favorites to talk to. And I also love doing that show with them. They were just a blast.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that too, because, excuse me, one of the things that I know Julian Breezeball has told me for years with the Lightning, he goes, Jay, as much as it's about the player, it's about the person. It's about, we're bringing a guy in here that has to, be with us on off days and team meals. And Jason Light in the last couple of months has really been very vocal about how he's changed, how he's brought players into the Buccaneers, whether it's via the draft or free agency. And for somebody like yourself, I mean, when you see these guys, like, what is that like? I mean, what's the common thread between Buccaneer players, not just what they are on the field, but who they are off of it?
Yeah. And I absolutely love that they do that. It's an incredible thing for me, having to spend so much time around them. I always tell everybody I spend more time around the team than my own friends or family during the season. So I am so thankful and grateful. And I have told Jason Light and his staff this, I've told ownership this, how much I appreciate that they value that, even just selfishly, of who I am talking to and am around. But if you look at what it really means, it's easy to say like, oh, we want to bring in good locker room guys. We want to bring in good guys. Every team says that.
Right.
But what it really looks like is the fact that they had that outline of Levante David. It's this, like, this is what we want. And so I think what it boils down to is that you are a good person, that you are a hard worker, that you absolutely are in love with football, and you're going to do things the right way, put the team first, and you're going to care about giving back to the community. You're going to care about mentoring the next generation. All of those things really kind of make up who Levante is and who, therefore, that I am that man strategy is. And, having had Levante and Mike Evans here the entire time I've been here, you just see the way that really impacts, again, not just the current team, but future teams, the way that I've watched how much young guys come in. And if you have a veteran in your position room that is especially a star, you're like, I want to walk, talk, and act just like you. And so whoever that person is, that is going to not just be about how much, okay, what does Mike Evans mean to the team?
Mm-hmm.
But every single wide receiver that's come in, it's like, well, if Mike is doing it this way, who am I to not do it this way? And so it really creates such an incredible precedent for all of your future players coming in. And literally, when you think about legacy, it is by bringing in one Mike Evans, you can affect the legacy of teams for years to come.
Talk to me about a guy like Emeka Egbuka then, because it seems like he's just right. I mean, it's just like, and I don't mean to say this like as anything bad towards Emeka Egbuka, but it's almost like, all right, copy paste. This is the kind of guy we want, and he seems like, even from the outside, even from the first time we spoke to him over there at One Buck, he's just that guy. Like, he just seems like he fits that mold to a T.
He really does. He's an incredible person, and man, to be as polished as he is, both on and off the field, as quick as he is incredibly impressive. And I think he had a lot of hype coming in. And then it feels like he's not only lived up to it, but maybe even exceeded it. The way that Baker's talking about him, the way the other wide receivers are talking about him, the way that everyone who's around him just keeps being like, man, like, you would never think he's a rookie for any reason, on and off the field. And whether it's him speaking, whether it's the way he runs his routes, like, I just can't imagine what his ceiling is when he gets to come in and right off the bat just look like he has been a pro for 5-7 years. And when they're comparing him to Chris Godwin, again, on and off the field, what more could you want? That Mike and Chris are those guys that if you ever find out that someone is saying they are like one of those two, that's all you need to know. If someone has said that he reminds them at all of Chris Godwin, you're just like, check. Yes, we want to draft him. And I'm just really excited to see what he could become, because it just feels like there's no nervousness. There's no uncertainty. There's no, the game is too big for him. He just is coming in ready to go. And I don't know if it's the product of being part of a wide receiver room that had so much talent in college, part of a program that was so in the spotlight, playing in front of so many people, that it's not as big of an adjustment as someone who went to, some smaller school and suddenly the lights are really bright. He's just like, I've been in front of the bright lights. I've been around the superstars. I know what it looks like. And I'm just really excited to see what that's going to look like on a Sunday.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And then one of the later players that have joined the team over the last couple of weeks is Teddy Bridgewater, to kind of help that quarterback room. What have you seen from him? Because I asked Bucky today after practice, I go, Bucky, what's it been like for Teddy Bridgewater and his, the usual Bucky smile grinning ear to ear, but what have you seen from Teddy Bridgewater and the impact that he's had, just being around there at One Buck?
Yeah, I am really excited about him coming in. I think that, he and Kyle are both awesome guys, awesome additions. And for me, one of the things I love about being in my role as long as I have is I know a lot of people around the league and in different roles. And it's funny how whenever you get a new player, like a free agent from somewhere, inevitably you'll get a text from someone who has covered them somewhere else. And this time I immediately got a text of, oh my gosh, you're going to love Teddy. He's amazing. He's such a good person. He's such a good interview. He's all these things. And it's totally true. I mean, he just has this infectious kind of smile, positive energy about him. And I think the fact that this is a team that has really high expectations for themselves this year, bringing in a guy like him who has so much experience, knows what this league is about, has been around so many different systems and coaches, and then even coming here, even though he is new, he has so many connections within the building of people that, on the coaching staff that have coached him before, people that he's known from other places, that it doesn't feel like he's having to start from complete scratch of not knowing anybody. So with already having all that experience and then having so many connections within the building, I think it's going to help him get up to speed a lot faster than maybe another just random quarterback that you could bring in. And so I think that it's going to be really fun to watch, this last preseason game. And, as all of the decisions get made of what that number 2 quarterback spot looks like, are you keeping 3 on the roster? Are you putting someone on the practice squad? What does that look like? And, I think that Kyle obviously has such a familiarity with this organization, with the system, and has just done everything that has been asked of him. And then Teddy also now comes in, almost like another coach in that room with just so much experience. I think now we kind of have this embarrassment of riches at the quarterback position, which again, when you're a team with really high expectations for the season, that's what you want and what you need. You don't ever want to be without Baker Mayfield, but to know that you have 2 really great, solid backup options is amazing.
I want to ask you about expectations here in a bit, but I want to ask you first about Todd Bowles. I was one of the people in the offseason that was staunch and can't let this guy go. The leadership, and, with everything happening with Liam Cohen and just looking at Todd. And again, I said that before you came on, teams don't go through 2 similar losing streaks in the middle of the season and not have some kind of murmurs that, something's going wrong or, maybe we should look elsewhere. Like, I didn't hear that at all from any, and I've been in those locker rooms, and it's incredible to see down the line how everybody was in lockstep. We're going to get out of this. We got to stick together. What have you noticed? Because one thing that I really do appreciate about Todd is, Todd's not a guy in his 30s or his 40s. Like, this is a guy that's been around football his entire life, been around the NFL pretty much his entire adult life. And he's learning to adapt, bringing in different coaches, delegating different responsibilities, making changes to his coaching staff to make sure that he puts his team in a position to succeed. What have you seen from Todd over the last couple of years that has, put him in this spot where this team really does have those high expectations going into 2025?
Yeah, look, Todd is incredible. And I think that he is someone that people have some misconceptions about because when he gets on the podium, he's just very stoic. And occasionally when they cut to him at, on the sideline of the game, he looks very stoic. Let me tell you, outside of those scenarios, that is not what everybody here sees. Like, he has so much personality. He's so funny. He's so smart. And he's a player's coach in the best sense of that word of, I mean, look, this man has won a Super Bowl as a player and a coach. Like, he knows what he is doing. He knows what it takes on both levels. And he is someone who really empowers the players to tell him also what they need and how they feel. And they know he's listening. They know he understands. That's a really big deal for them. And I think the fact that he does have such great relationships where, look, if a guy's like, hey man, I'm not understanding this, I need some more work. Like, we've heard the stories of the different DBs going and just like, he finds them on his couch in his office of like, all right, I guess we're watching film now. We're going to help this. He will do anything and everything to put his players in a position to succeed. He is not a coach that just says, this is my system, my way or the highway, figure it out. Like, there have been times that man has dealt with more injuries at certain positions, right, and he's just having to cobble together some stuff. And I just love that he is this football genius, brilliant mind who will forever be able to chess game it and figure out how to put guys in a position to succeed, no matter what hand he's kind of dealt in that situation of how many injuries or what's going on. So I think that he's someone who is, everybody really respects his football mind. And they also just really respect the way that he treats everybody in the building. And like we were talking about with the I am that man philosophy for players, I feel like Todd fits the I am that man philosophy as a coach. That I hear stories all the time from coaches and people that have worked with him for years where they're like, he is so good to us. And it's little things like that that I don't think the fans always get a chance to hear or see. This is a guy who inspires a lot of loyalty and a lot of trust within the organization. And you see it manifest, like you said, when, hey, if there is a bit of a rough patch, no one is suddenly, thinking that he has anything to do with that, that it's people just know, like, this is a man that I'm going to follow and I trust him to get us where we need to go.
Yeah, and I watched the quarterback Netflix documentary, and to see Kirk Cousins and when he brings up Todd Bowles and he's like, that guy's made, and he gave him so much love. And of course, we didn't like how it turned out last year against the Falcons, but just to see Kirk Cousins just throw so much love towards Todd Bowles, I was like, wow, that was really nice and an unexpected, bouquet of flowers that Todd Bowles got on the national scheme there. I want to ask you about expectations this year, because I feel like when you're looking at sports, incrementally, you want to get a little bit better. You want to get, of course, the whole Tom Brady thing threw for a loop. Yeah, just win a Super Bowl his first year. Yeah, that's great. But it doesn't always happen like that, right? Sometimes you have to learn how to lose before you win, and you win the division, and then you win another game. But I feel like this is the year where just winning the division and just making the playoffs, it's just not enough, it seems like. And it doesn't mean that the season's a failure, but there's a lot of good players on this team, and I think you're starting to hear it more nationally. I know you've seen it from podcasts and some of these people that have come into town. Pete Prisco was on the other day saying the Buccaneers might be the team to beat in the NFC. What do you see as far as expectations? I know they're going to take it one game at a time. They're not going to put the cart before the horse, but there's got to be some semblance of like, hey, we want to go on a deep postseason run. We're good enough to do so.
Yeah, I think that this team, it is no longer enough in their mind, based on the talent we have and how they feel about themselves, to just shoot for winning the NFC South. Mm-hmm. Their expectations are absolutely higher than that they believe this is a team that has Super Bowl level talent, expectations. And of course, there's always a million factors into that in terms of things like injuries and how the season can play out. But in terms of just what we have in this building, this team feels like this is a Super Bowl potential team. And I think you see a lot of evidence of certain decisions of whether it is guys like Levante that are just like, yep, coming back, like guys that they're doing this because of what they believe this team can be. And I think the coaches, the scouts, the staff, the players, you just feel it all around the building of like, this is potentially going to be special. And how cool, I mean, lining up with it being the 50th season, like what a perfect time to make a deep playoff run, to really get to revel in this and have, it be a season-long celebration of success. I think that would just be amazing. But it's true. I think this is not a lip service. I think that you can see a difference in teams that are just saying, oh yeah, we have high expectations, versus a team that feels it and that makes decisions accordingly.
Right. Yeah, no doubt about it. And you see it when you bring in Hassan Reddick, and it's hard not to think like, oh, this is kind of like the Simeon Rice move, right? And you see Levante coming back, or the JPP move. Yeah, exactly. So I love that. I like when you set a goal high, and then your expectations and everything has been raised. What kind of impact do you think like the Tom Brady years had on that? Because I feel like, and I said this being there before that, and then no disrespect, because I loved Jameis, was always great to me, but it was a lot of fun. But when Tom came here, it was no balls hit the ground. There was it just seemed like everybody's day at practice. And of course, we're on the outside looking in. It was more of like, this is where our standard is, and we're not going to drop. And I feel like Levante and Mike and Tristan, it's one of those guys, like they've been able to carry that over. Is that fair to say?
I think so. I think that there was definitely a culture setting experience there, that him coming in, I mean, he's the GOAT, right? And no player wants to be the one that lets down the GOAT. Mm-hmm. And I think you can maybe think and feel and believe you're giving 100%. But if the person you admire more than anyone in the world suddenly is like over your shoulder watching you work, there's a chance you might elevate just that much more. And I think that people under him got to see and experience what it means to feel like the expectation is to win every game. There is never a point when you're out of it. And the different feeling of, oh, well, like 2 minutes left, we got this. That there is an overall feeling that happens, and a culture, he said, like you said, that we are not, like, balls are not hitting the ground. This is what we're about. This is what we do. And I was really excited to see that when he left, that didn't leave, that remained after him. And I give a lot of credit to all of our players who are leaders on the team for helping to continue that on, for your Mike Evans and Levante Davids and Chris Godwins, to say, no, that is still the standard. That is still how we carry ourselves. And I do believe it has had a lasting impact.
Yeah, I remember those late victories when he's throwing the ball to Scotty Miller and K-Dot, and it was just like whatever whoever's open.
Yep, I'm giving it to anybody. There's no prejudice here. I'm throwing to whoever's open.
That's right. All right, Casey, before I let you go, let everybody know when the rest of the reveals for the top 50, because again, it was unbelievable last night. The second batch is tonight, correct? That
is correct. Yep. So we're unveiling them here. We're just back to back, dropping them out. And I can't wait to hear everybody's thoughts. Make sure you're staying tuned, watch it live, talk with people, comment. We love all of the discourse back and forth, or watch it later. But yeah, they're all on YouTube on the Buccaneers account. And we have some very special guests coming to be able to talk about some different sections of players. We got a lot of fun people. No spoilers, can't
No
give anything
spoilers.
away. No spoilers, but we have some really cool people coming in to talk about the players. And of course, I can't wait for people to see the top 10, because that's the one that everyone is probably going to debate the heaviest of how do you order. And what's so cool to me is that we have so many incredible players in the Bucks history that I know everyone will be arguing. I know that everyone will be like, he should be number 1. He should be number 3. He should be this.
Mhm.
And I'm like, what a cool thing to see, that it's not just going to be, oh yeah, this makes sense. I'm sure there will be a bunch of opinions, and that's what's so beautiful, is it means there were that many really talented people. And also what I think is really cool about it is the fact that this has been it's largely, like, almost completely based on fan vote. We had some media members and some internal people who were here kind of take a look at it as well, make sure they felt like everybody got their fair shake that needed to, especially some of the more unsung guys maybe.
Right.
And so, but it was largely fan vote. And I think that's what was really cool about it, is watching to see what Bucks fans thought of these players and these people. So yeah, I hope everybody tunes in. It's going to be fun. There's some fun ones coming up, and some fun commentary for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you think about the history of the franchise, ups and downs, and some of the highest highs, right, to go with the lowest lows, and some of the guys that maybe, in the 70s and 80s during some of the lean years were able to really kind of, this is where they get their love too, so which I think is great. I asked 3 different people, and 3 people had a different top 3. So
see, I love that. That's what I love. This is going to be fun.
List is amazing. Buccaneers team reporter Casey Phillips. Casey reporting on all social media platforms. Casey, thank you so much for your time. You made our show a whole heck of a lot better. And see you at practice, or I'll see you Saturday at the game. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me, Jay. I'll see you soon.
You got it. Casey Phillips crushing it as always. Unbelievable job. That was a lot of fun. She was unbelievable. See, I think that's the thing when you're having these discussions about the Buccaneers. Like, I'm not going to sit here and have a conversation with Casey Phillips about, like, the Jalen McMillan injury. Yeah, like, we're going to talk to Adam Savon. We'll talk about, but Casey, I want that perspective of somebody that's there all the time. The type of people, not just the players, the type of people that are there. That's the kind of stuff. That's the kind of insight you're going to get from the Buccaneers team reporter. I thought that interview was fantastic. And I'm not just saying that because I did it. I thought she was amazing. One of the best interviews I think we've had here on the podcast. Now's the time to kill that like button. Come on, everybody. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, kill that like button. Kill it, kill it. Let's see. Look, how about this one right here? Hold on. I want to get back to some of these that we didn't get to. What's good, Jay's crew? Honest Hammer in the house. Can you help me understand why we traded Jose Caballero for a little cash? I'm still trying. Well, you got Everson Pereira, right? So he's helping you out in the outfield. Hammer, my guy, let me tell you something, buddy. And I know we had a couple knocks last night, but the fact that the Rays did not want to give up on Christopher Morel made a guy like Jose Caballero expendable. I mean, you're keeping a guy like Jose Caballero. I mean, you're keeping Taylor Walls, and you're keeping Christopher Morel over Caballero. Right? I know it's not exactly 1-for-1, but you just look at the positions he would play, look at what he gives you, and I understand the ups and downs. I understand, what those other guys bring to the table, but you're telling me you couldn't use a guy like Jose Caballero? Now, is he going to hit 2 home runs in one game like he did last night? Probably not. Okay? One wall scraper down the right side, and then the second one he smoked. But he's also getting an opportunity to bat in a lineup where he's going to see a ton of fastballs. He's going to probably hit with some runners on base. And it's a different offensive philosophy with the Yankees. They just kind of let it fly, man. Just the way it goes. You saw it last night. My God. Aaron Judge, Cody Bellinger, Giancarlo Stanton. I mean, those guys were just letting it rip last night. That was tough. That was an exclamation point on the season for sure. Louis went to Gillette with the wife to go see the Tom Brady statue. Also went to Tom Brady's car store and bought Mike Evans' rookie card autograph with a piece of a game jersey. That is great. I like that. Bantry, Casey and Jay, what's your opinion on Baker's new Popeyes commercial? Love it. Hilarious. He's the best. Oh, another super chat. Thank you so much, Jonathan Rivera. If you guys want to contribute via the super chat like Jonathan, man, that would be a big, big help. We could use some investigative journalism on Godwin's status. Is he close to practicing? Is POP a guarantee? There's been ambiguity. Yes, there has been. It doesn't seem like it, man. It doesn't seem like it. And now with the whole new rules with the PUP, I would think that he's going to be back mid-season, right? I don't think you're going to see him back for the first couple of weeks where Tristan's like out there and you see him a bunch. I don't think he's going to miss a ton of time. They're going to be very careful with Chris. They just invested, a new contract. They know that they don't need to rush him back. He's home. He's here. But yeah, I mean, it is a little crazy that we haven't heard more. And we're hoping that with the way that the practices are, when we get to see a lot of different things, this is the last week where we're going to be out there pretty much for the whole practice. So we're able to film for the first 30 minutes. We're out there to watch the rest. But once the regular season starts, it's 30 minutes. You really see them stretch, and then you get the heck out of there. But because of the whole thing with Jalen McMillan, I really believe that we're going to start hearing some more about Chris Godwin and his, what is his status, because now you start looking at it and you wonder who's going to come back first, right? I mean, is it going to be Chris or is it going to be J-Mac? Probably going to be Chris, but like how far, right? How much sooner? Nathan Elliott in the house. What's going on, buddy? Really, really cool. There you go. DT just got my Stadium Series tickets as well. How many times can I smash the link button? How about the like button? Kill that like button. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. Casey is amazing. The Bucks PR social media are like that Seinfeld episode. Gold, Jerry, gold. You got that right, buddy. All right, let's take a look real quick at my guy over at The Honest Hammer. Have you checked out their website yet? It just gets better and better every single time that we hop on there. And there you go. Boom, 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 boom. All right, there we go. All right, you're looking at it now. 813-244-0956. Honest Hammer Custom Builders. Build with them. They've got everything on there. And listen, the schedule consult right there. Give them a shout, man. Tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast, and you get a discount. Custom homes, new construction, interior and structural renovations, commercial construction. You got your bathroom and your kitchen remodels. Give them a shout, and they can be able to help you out. Look at some of these new homes that they are building. Custom home renovations, interior, kitchen, bathroom, 813-244-0956. Honest Hammer, General Contractor Company, CGC 153-116, thehonesthammer.com. Email thehonesthammer@gmail.com. Again, tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast, and you get a discount. He is the man. And it's just, listen, these are the type of people you want to do business with. Tampa Bay sports fans, guys that wanted to get in here on the Jay Recher podcast early to be able to help me out, and we're helping them out. So you could help both of us out by giving them a call, 813-244-0956. You have a question? Hey, I don't want to spend all of this money. I want to make sure that I'm doing right by my kitchen and my bathroom remodel, new home builds. Give them a shout. Tell them you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. Love our friends over at The Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC. Doug Waechter is going to join us in about 2 minutes to talk all things Rays and also the Summer of Kaden. The Summer of Kaden Waechter. This is so funny. Like a lot of these pictures that we see from Tony Saladino, they're popping up everywhere. Listen, did Hillsborough County Schools steal my picture for him? Yes, they did. I was like, should I say something? They're like, you could. And I'm just like, that's not really the hill I want to die on, right? Like, it is what it is. Just take the picture and use it, whatever. It's not about credit. But for certain people, if you're going to steal articles, like we saw in one article yesterday, and I think they took it down. They literally took half of Jared Guthrie's article on 813 Preps and half of Joey Knight's article from Tampa Bay Times, smashed them together. And it was stuff that it was almost verbatim of what Jared and Joey wrote. Just don't do that. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. Our fellas put a lot of work into, and especially our guy Jared, who was all over it. It was the story that he was meant to write. 813preps.com. Please go check that out. Life is a bunt, right? A sacrifice. And Jared did such a great job. And you see it, like all the love and all the shares that has gotten it. They're still pouring in. And I just put out a little bit of what I spoke about yesterday. And I think one of the things that I think back to when I was talking about Tony was he passed away from heart failure at the age of 89, but his heart didn't fail at all. He was the driving force that made a man who was barely 5 feet tall an absolute giant in our community. And yeah, I mean, it's incomparable, his impact. And speaking to people yesterday and speaking to, I'm going to be out on the baseball field today. We're going to still talk about Tony. We're still going to talk about him for a long time. He's never going to be forgotten, but especially in the next 6 months when the tournament rolls around, high school baseball starts, and, we'll be at UT for the first time without him. Again, Joe Urso is going to join us at 1:25 today. God, man, I think we just wish that our impacts on this world will be as just even a fraction of what Tony was able to give us. And we're better people because we grew up in the same time. We lived in the same time as Tony Saladino. So I know the family was working on kind of the services today. They're going to go over there a little bit later on. So once we hear about that, I know a lot of people are going to wonder, like, where can they send flowers and things like that. We'll let you know here on the show. Our guy Dolan hit me up, potential MLB realignment, where it would have the Rays in the AL Southeast with the Braves, Marlins, and an expansion team. I don't hate it. I've been saying this for many, many years. I think part of the reason that the Rays struggle maybe with consistency, and maybe you would hear less about some of the salary issues, would be if they weren't in the same division as the Yankees and the Red Sox. And I also think it would help the fan base. I also think, and I know I might be in the minority with this, but I think part of the reason why the Lightning have been able to grow their fan base, like, who are the two biggest cities that come down here usually? It's usually New York and Boston, but really New York. This is like, there's so many New Yorkers, me included. But I think the fact that we don't have to fight with Ranger fans and that you only play them like 2 or 3 times a year, and I know they've played them in the playoffs, but the fact that the Lightning and the Rangers aren't rivals, I think that helps. I think that has helped grow the Lightning fan base over the years. I think part of the reason that it's been difficult to grow the Rays fan base is because they play the Yankees so much. Like, think about it. If the Rays played in the NL East instead of the AL East, and they played against the Mets instead of the Yankees, and you could kind of be, and I know this is like a faux pas, but if you could kind of be a Rays fan and a Yankee fan, I think that would help a little bit, because there's way more Yankee fans than Met fans. It's just the way it goes. I mean, just the most successful team in all sports. But the fact that it's almost like you can't be, it's blasphemous. How dare you root for both of the teams? But you see people that are like, all right, well, you're a Ranger fan, but you kind of like, you like the Lightning, or vice versa. Like, it's a lot easier because they're not like big time rivals. I don't know, but we'll see. But I'm not against it. I am not against realignment at all. Ready for you, buddy. All right. Reaching out to Doug Waechter, and we will get with him here in a moment. Again, follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. And really, really cool to be able to see last night the recognition of Tony Saladino on the field last night. I don't know if you guys saw it. Let me see if I can bring this up real quick before Dougie gets on with us. I know that Kevin Cash brought it up before the game, which was really cool. I mean, he spoke about how, playing in that tournament was one of the coolest things he's done. And here we go right here, guys. If you missed it, there you go. And you see on the field there, Tony Saladino Jr. getting recognized on the field before the game, and ironically enough, before the Yankees and the Rays. And people ask, like, was Tony a Rays fan? Yeah, I look at it as Tony was a baseball fan. He was a fan of everything baseball, and at all levels. He really did. I mean, he loved being there at UT. He loved, the high school tournament. He loved MLB and just talking to players. And I know the guys that played here locally. I mean, he had so much love for Wade Boggs and Fred McGriff and Tino Martinez. And it just meant so much to him that those guys were from Tampa that played in the big leagues. And then no guy he loved more than Al Lopez, who, ironically enough, would have been his birthday. And that was one of our final conversations, because I wasn't here for Al Lopez, but Al Lopez Park, and just go, if you are not familiar with Al Lopez, please just go back and just go look at his career. Just go check it out, because I think there's a lot of things on there that you'll read, and if you aren't familiar with it, it will just really impress you. And he was the man. He was the man, and he still is. Like, he is like the greatest baseball player to come from Tampa in a lot of people's minds. I mean, even though there's been some fantastic ones and some Hall of Famers, but the impact with Al Lopez, I know that's a big deal. That was a big deal for Tony. It was a big deal for him to make sure that people did not forget his legacy and what he meant to this area. And, and I kind of look at that the same way of what the conversations that I had with the big dog, Steve Dumick, and about how he was, I don't want anybody to ever forget Chris Thomas. Now, I never met Chris Thomas, but I know how important he was to WDAE and to sports radio and just sports as a whole in this area. And I always wanted to be very cognizant and very respectful of Chris. And I always wanted to be able to kind of carry that torch a little bit, to be able to remember him, even though I never got to meet him personally. So same thing with Tony and Al Lopez as well. It's very, very important to be able to recognize and to, remember the people that were here before us. Doug, you'll be here in a minute, so we'll get to him here in a moment. Again, Joe Urso joins us at 1:25 today to talk all things Tony Saladino. 3:40 today, one of our Tampa guys, Parker Messick, will be pitching. He's on the bump for the Cleveland Guardians against the Arizona Diamondbacks. So make sure you're pulling for our guy Parker, former state champion for Plant C under Coach Mike Fryrear, and a former Florida State Seminole as well. So cannot wait to be able to see Parker on the mound doing his thing. All right, let's bring him in. The best dressed man in show business, Kaden Waechter's dad, Doug. He knows ball. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Dude, first of all, I want to tell everybody how awesome you are, in the fact that, how I know you're one of the best is I was supposed to be on, 30 minutes ago? And, basically I got caught up in something that I just could not get out of. I didn't have access to the phone. And of course, you just make it happen. Nothing, no big deal. And, as soon as I was available, I saw my phone. I was like, man, I hope Jay still has time for me.
Of course.
Luckily you do. And dude, I thank you. And I apologize for being so tardy, dude. I was just telling somebody this morning how I hate being late for things. And now, now I'm joining you 36 minutes late.
Oh,
so
you're good.
My apologies. I truly do. And thank you for having me on, man.
No, an honor. Of course not. Hey, we're going to start talking about him. We were talking about Kaden this morning at Bucks practice. Me and Rick Stroud and Greg Allman, two of the bigger names here locally when it comes to media. And Rick was like, man, Kaden, man, he's all over the place. And what a summer. I mean, now back at Jesuit, I cannot wait for the spring to see him and Wilson with Coach Miguel and the whole crew over there. But man, what has it been like for him and to be able to see him? I know you got a chance to be able to watch him during one of the Rays broadcasts, but man, what an incredible summer that he'll never forget.
First of all, yeah, thank you for the title, by the way. I'm reading that. Kaden Waechter's dad, Doug. That is – I'm going to take a screenshot of this, and I'm going to send it to him, and I'll never hear the end of it, I'm sure. So, Jay, it has been a really cool experience for me as a dad. Very special time for me, and it's something that kind of – it's gone so fast. It came from, I can close my eyes and think of yesterday when I was – really in T-ball with them and going up through all the way, coaching them through 13, 14 years old, and then purposely trying to hand them off to some other folks so he can hear some different voices in the dugout and just being a dad. It's been special for me because, this last year has really just kind of exploded for him. From committing to FSU, which he's very blessed to be able to say that he's a commit there, had opportunities all over, to now, he's basically gone through the summer and really made a name for himself in potential draft circles. And, we'll see where that goes. But he's named. Most recently, I was just able to go out there listen to this, dude, on the 14th day of that last road trip when I was covering the Rays. And thank you for the Rays and for FanDuel for allowing me to do this. But Kaden was named to an All-American, to the Perfect Game All-American. And that game that they were going to play fell on our Sunday, the last game in San Francisco. So the actual day that I was supposed to broadcast and, we were doing all these things, So the Rays and FanDuel very, understanding and knowing that I would love to be out there. They allowed me to go out and covered for me to go see my son pitch at Petco at
Wow.
San Diego and see him on a major league diamond and pitch against other All-Americans. And man, it was a special day for sure. I flew out on a 6 a.m. flight out of San Francisco, flew into San Diego, watched him pitch that day, and then flew out that night at 10:30 p.m. on a red eye and got into Tampa Monday morning at 10:45 a.m. Dude, yeah, Monday and half of yesterday have been an absolute blur for me. But as a dad, I couldn't be more proud. And just, as a fan of the game and seeing all that talent on a field, it was just a really cool experience for me.
Yeah, and we've a big portion of the last 24 hours, especially here on the show, was celebrating the life of the great Tony Saladino, and it's been so cool to be able to see Wade Boggs and all these different guys that have. I mean, Kevin Cash spoke about it before the game last night, and Joey Urso is going to be joining us here in about 20 minutes on the show, and it just kind of highlights it, man. Like not just in the Tampa, but St. Pete and Clearwater, like baseball here in this area. Yeah, and I know that, we talk about kind of the attendance with the Rays, and I think there's a lot of mitigating factors when it comes to that. But I don't think part of the reason why the attendance is the way it is because this isn't a baseball town. I mean, it's just amazing. And then when you go to Jesuit and you see Caden Wilson and Samir's had an unbelievable summer as well. I mean, baseball, I really do believe, is in the blood of people in the Tampa Bay area.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Go back to the history of you say Tampa Bay area, and that's very smart on your behalf because it's not just Tampa Bay, even though it's such a rich history in Tampa specifically. But you can go to St. Pete. I mean, Al Lang Stadium. People don't understand the history of Al Lang. Ted Williams played there, Joe DiMaggio, like all these greats went through there and played. Babe Ruth had a house in St. Pete for spring training, and then you look at Clearwater and all the history of baseball in Clearwater and Sarasota and everywhere around. It's just the entire Tampa Bay area. It's so rich in baseball history and rich in the game. And, you talked about a lot of the youth that play in baseball, and that's been just a part of the DNA, right, of this area with some of the greats, Hall of Famers coming through Tampa. And it'll never change. I think this area is always going to be known for the baseball side of things. And so, yeah, it's special and it's very unfortunate for Saladino, the news that came out. A great individual, a great human being. And you just think about the amount of lives that he touched through the game of baseball. Pretty special for sure. And I was just talking, I'm in our office now, we're talking some of my coworkers this morning about the news of Saladino passing. And yeah, it's big news. It's huge news in the area because he meant so much.
Yeah, I just, I've been saying this for the last 2 days, man. If I can impact lives, a fraction of how many lives that Tony did, I think I did pretty well on this earth. I want to ask you about some of the pitching specific for the Rays, man, because one of the things that I've been keeping an eye on, and unfortunately the numbers keep getting inflated, is the amount of long balls given up from the starters. And I know Littell's not with them anymore, but with Zach and with Boz and with Pep, what is it that you see that, because I think the overall numbers are not like glaring, because you look at the overall numbers with its ERA and WHIP, and I mean, none of those really stand out like, wow, they're 27th in the league. But what is it about that you're seeing from these pitchers? Is it location? Is it execution? Is it just like the entire approach? Like, why is it that a lot of these pitches that they're, leaving in the zone and specifically up in the zone are ending up on the other side of the fence?
Right. It's a good question. First of all, I think the first thing you got to address and talk about is the fact that they're playing at Steinbrenner, which is definitely pro offense. Right. Ball flies out. You put the ball in the air. We saw it last night. Now, I'm not going to blame every one of the ones last night on Steinbrenner Field.
Right.
That was the fact that, that was a rough game to watch. But, over the course of the year, Steinbrenner has gotten easier and easier to hit in, and we knew it was going to happen. And hitters are definitely taking advantage of that. But I wouldn't say that is the reason that there's an elevated ability to hit home runs against some of our guys. And I think each pitcher, it's probably a different situation than the other. Zach Littell was leading the league in home runs allowed. And, for him specifically, when he would go out there and give up a home run, it's not because he's trying to blow it by somebody at the top of the zone. It's more because his secondary is most likely his slider or split finger were a little too elevated, right? And that's where he would get hurt. And typically it was with no one on base. I mean, the majority of his home runs were given up were solos. Now you go to a guy like Shane Baz, where a lot of times you do see guys on base. So is it a mechanical thing? Is it something in the stretch that he's doing that he wasn't doing while he's in the windup? I think for him, it's count control. A lot of the times it's count control for a power guy. When you can get in a negative count for a pitcher or a positive count for a hitter, and what I mean by that is, a hitter gets into a 2-0 count and he can look for one pitch instead of have to deal with 2 or 3. It changes the entire aspect of the at-bat, right? And being a baseball guy, that if you're not controlling the counts, it doesn't matter how good your stuff is. Eventually, that can catch up to you because it allows
everything. Yep.
Yeah, and it allows hitters who might not be above average hitters, maybe they're mediocre. But when you tell a mediocre major league hitter that all you got to do is look out for one pitch, well, okay, that shrinks the amount of room that you have to make an error when you're effectively throwing that pitch. So, I think count control has a lot to do with it, especially for Baz. And, probably similar with Pepio, because both guys, when you look at their stuff is still very, very good.
Right.
And so I think it's a case-by-case study on, why we're giving up more home runs this year than we really have in a long time. But I do think Steinbrenner is a part of it, but I'm not a guy who makes excuses, and I don't think these guys are either. I think it's just the fact that, mistakes have been made, and, major league hitters can absolutely take advantage of mistakes, especially when you're not controlling counts.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I want to ask you about one of the new Rays, and I haven't gotten this from anybody, but the more and more I look at him, and the more I kind of see how the rotation's shaking out, and knowing that he's under team control for a couple of years, and knowing that there's kind of a proof of concept. What are your thoughts on my crazy, maybe it's not crazy, Griffin Jax being that next guy that the Rays get into the lab in the offseason and go? Because, Doug, you look at this guy, he's one of the better relievers on the market. People were surprised, all right, well, you trade Taj Bradley for him. I just feel like with a guy, and he throws 4 or 5 good pitches. I mean, this is a guy that isn't all right, he's a guy that's going to pitch to 8th. He's a fastball slider guy. Maybe he'll drop in a curve or a change. This is a guy that's got a pretty deep repertoire. And I feel like if the Rays have done it with a guy like Zach Littell, who didn't have probably as high-end stuff as a guy like Griffin Jax, he could be a guy next year. I mean, obviously it's going to take them time to, stretch him out, but they wouldn't do it this year. But what do you think about that idea?
Well, I don't know if you're crazy. I mean, I think a lot of people are probably looking at this guy and thinking, holy cow, instead of having that stuff for 1 inning, what if we had it for 6 or 7? Because, I do know for a fact that the Rays, when they went out there looking for relievers, they got 2 really good ones. Baker is a very good reliever. Yeah. And Griffin Jax, they literally, the Rays organization considered him the best arm on the market, right? And there's a reason for that. The stuff is off the charts good. The sweeper, in my opinion, is probably one of the best breaking balls that you can throw in the major league level. And he's flashed that to where it's virtually unhittable at times if he's landing that where he wants to. And then you set it up with 97, 98, and then the changeup. Like, this guy has every piece of the puzzle if you want to try to make him a starter, if you want to lengthen him out. And maybe that's in their plans. I don't know about that. I never talked to them specifically about creating a position in the rotation for him. There's no chance they're going to do it this year. I know that.
Right.
What they would do is in spring training, maybe have a conversation with him and talk about potentially moving him and lengthening him out. I could absolutely see him do that, and absolutely could see that working, because what you said is correct. His stuff is, I mean, he could be top of the rotation or near top of the rotation. He's just, I don't know the history of it. And you also want to be sensitive, to what he's done in the past.
Right.
Has he really showed a reason that he's better arm out of the bullpen? Is his mentality much better suited for a bullpen arm where he can let it all go for an inning? Once he gets stretched out, is he able to carry that velocity? It's those kind of things, those kind of questions that you have to answer before you make that move. But I'll tell you what, man, stuff alone, he's got some of the best stuff for sure on the team, but also you can consider him amongst the top in the big leagues when you're talking about breaking balls and the whole arsenal.
Were you surprised that they moved on from Taj Bradley, 24 years old? I mean, I know he's had his struggles, but I mean, we saw him come up probably a little bit earlier than they wanted a couple of years ago when they went through the injuries. And, I know you got to give up something to get something. I mean, you're going to give up a guy like Griffin Jackson. You didn't do the whole, we'll trade you 3 or 4 prospects for a guy like that. A very, I don't want to say like for like move, but this was a guy that I think going into the season, you were like, all right, this is the year that Taj needs to take a step forward. Were you surprised that they moved on from him? And where do you think it kind of went wrong for him here in Tampa?
Yeah, I am surprised just based off the fact that they had control over him, and he's a young arm that they have always shown that they truly believe in and they really, really liked. And so homegrown kid, he had all the makings of them continuing to stay patient with him and hoping that he would come along. The consistency that he wasn't able to show, I think eventually got to him. And I think they've tried a lot of different things to help Taj, stuff wise on the mound. And, at times you saw him go out there and be absolutely dominant. I think it was last year where he went over like a 7 to 9 game stretch where you're like, okay, he's here. This is the Taj Bradley that everybody's looking for, top of the rotation. Like, he is here and he's ready to roll. And then took a step backwards. And it's just being a younger guy with the lack of consistency. I think at a certain point, sometimes it's best for both parties for the player to get a
Right.
different view, right, and put on a different uniform. And and the Rays have always been exceptional with figuring out the best time to make a move with these type players. Going in that trade deadline, I thought he was one of the guys who probably isn't touchable. They weren't going to be moving him. They'd moved some other guys before that. But I was wrong on that, and that's why you never try to guess what the Rays are going to do the trade deadline. It's always a question mark. But they always had the future in mind. So for them to move on from Taj, they probably had done some things where, they thought maybe some tweaks here and there would work a little bit better than they did. And because of the lack of consistency and the ability to get some good return on some players, I think all that's factored in, and that's why they made the decision to move on. And it was a straight business move. Everybody liked Taj a lot. It was just a move that the numbers say that this was a correct move for the long term health of the franchise, and so that's why they did it. But yeah, to answer your question in a one word, yes. I was surprised.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. All right, before I let you go, let everybody know, man, about your business there and how you can help them out.
Yeah. So I'm in commercial real estate. I really work specifically in office space. So my team can help you lease office. We can help you renew your lease agreement. We can help you sell a building, sell an office space. Basically, anything to do commercially with office or flex space, we handle it. Leasing, purchasing, selling, it does not matter. So happy to assist in any of your needs. You can just honestly look me up on social media. You can look me up on doug.waechter@jll.com. That's my email address. Or you can just go to JLL Tampa, and I'll be on that website and how to get a hold of me. So love to help out any way possible, and love to keep jumping on your podcast, man. This is always fun.
Yes, sir. And oh man, listen, I have to disagree with you on one thing. Your slider's still better. All right.
You saw that? I don't know, man. I literally
dude,
so
that thing
funny.
had bite. I was gonna go like on your side. I'm like, come on, Doug. Like you're being nice. And then like he threw that one pitch that you showed from him. I'm like, dude, that's not even fair, bro.
So we had just gone through the West Coast Swing in Seattle, and that's where I made my debut. And so on FanDuel, like on the pregame, they of course showed my time against Ichiro in the first game during that debut. And so I had them cut that clip. I don't have a lot of footage of me throwing. And honestly, I sent it to Kaden. Kaden's like, man, that's the first time I've ever seen you in a major league uniform. I was like, really? So I just seen that, and then just over the weekend, that's when Kaden threw, and they shot a clip of his slider. And I was like, man, that reminds me of the video that I just saw myself. So that's the only reason I did that, and it is actually kind of cool to put them side by side, just compare a little bit, have some fun, tell the kid that I wasn't terrible in my lifetime. I was decent at least.
You got that right, pal. He makes our show a whole heck of a lot better every time he joins us. It's a Waechter Wednesday. We're stealing it from Pat and Aaron. It's a Waechter Wednesday here in the Tampa Bay area. Doug, thank you so much. Give my love to Cade, Kristen, the whole crew over there with the Waechters, and we'll talk to you again soon, buddy. Thank you.
Jay, yeah, anytime, man. You're the best. Thank you so much for having me on, and I swear I will be punctual next time out.
Gonna
That's
hold
on
you
me.
to it.
That's
Gonna
on
hold you
me.
to it. Thank you, my partner.
Okay. All right, brother.
All
See
right,
ya.
man. Good stuff as always, Doug Waechter. He's the man. What a great family, man. And if you're gonna go watch a high school baseball game this year, head on out to Jesuit. Go watch a Jesuit TC game, and hopefully Caden's on the mound because the dude is a ballin'. Unbelievable stuff that he's had, and it just continues to get better and better and better. And I love it. I love watching and seeing what he brings to the table. And the sky's the limit, man. Sky's the limit. And again, talking about the Tampa Bay area and things like that, Parker Messick gets the start today for Cleveland, 3:40 against Arizona. Of course, Plant City High, Florida State. We love our Tampa baseball. And listen, you can't talk about Tampa baseball without our next guest. He's a great friend of the program and a great friend of mine, the one and only Joe Urso. What's going on, pal? How are you?
Doing all right, Jay. How you doing?
Hanging in there, buddy. And thank you so much for joining us today. And again, thank you for messaging me yesterday of the unfortunate news of losing our good pal Tony Saladino. And I said this, for the last year or so, there was just something right about a Saladino, Urso, and Russo in the infield for the University of Tampa last year. There was just something so right about it. But unfortunately, at 89 years young, we lost Tony yesterday morning. But just I don't know if many people out there can make a bigger impact on our community. What's kind of your first memory of Tony Saladino?
Well, I mean, I've been able to spend so much time with him the last 3 years because Nico being in our program. But it's love. It's that's what he was about. He loved everyone he was around, and it was heartedly. And like this man made people around him better. And you hear that comment a lot, but just how blessed I was to be around him as much the last 3 years. Obviously, just like many in Tampa, I've been around, Tony and Bertha for many years, was part of it as a player and then as a coach. And the memories every year at the University of Tampa of taking a picture with every Hillsborough County player that had played in this tournament. The memories are going to go on and on, but just happy. When you try to a legend like him, you want him to be able to go out on his terms, and I sure hope when it's my time, I get to do it just like Tony did. And his last year, his family, just what an amazing support they had for him. He went everywhere. He didn't miss a baseball game all year. And then his last year of life, to be able to go to the Kentucky Derby, check that off the bucket list. And then his grandson, Nico, being the hero of our back-to-back national championships, just a total blessing that I was a part of this last 3 years as we became really close. And this one hits hard.
Yeah. And, one of the things, too, is, I posted so many things yesterday, and one of the first people to comment was your lovely wife Julie, and how much I love her and love you guys, and just talking about how much he meant to her and the pregame routines. And there was a video I posted yesterday of 3 of the big knocks that Nico had. Like, the guy unbelievable what he was able to do there and carry. And in one of the videos, Julie's over there hugging, and Cheryl Saladino's over there, and just, you want to talk about emotion. We've spoken about this, you and I, whether it's on camera or off camera, about it just means more when you do it with people that you love. And it just meant more to have JD on the team and to have Nico and Cole and just all these different kids, and to have him involved. Like, just speak on that if you can. Just like, it's one thing to win it. It's one thing to be a champion again, but to be able to do it with people that you pretty much grew up with. It was special being there as a fan. I can't imagine how special it was for you as the head coach.
Yeah, and all these names, they've been family for a long time. We've known all these, a lot of these Russo and all these since we were kids growing up. So for them to do it, together on that field, like you said, most of them in the infield, and Russo bringing me and JD the trophy at the end just means the world. And, when you're trying to build a championship, or when you're trying to build a family, when you're trying to be around, best friends, and you want the best for your kids, it's about surrounding yourself with the right people. It's not about talent all the time. It's about personality. It's about people. And we do a lot of homework, and just so fortunate to have the Saladino family here for 3 years. Russo for 1 year, obviously, his father's running our soccer program, his stepfather, but his uncle and his dad playing in our program. These are, these are great family, great Tampa names, and none bigger than Tony Saladino.
I want to take you back to the ring ceremony last year, where you guys made the decision to give Tony a championship ring, and our good pal Sammy Militello handed it to him, and surprised him, and he was just blown away. He was so taken back, and him and I talked every single time, and that was one of the few times I saw Tony speechless. He was so happy. Just talk about the decision and nobody obviously was going to say no, but what was like, just take us through the idea, the decision to be able to give him a ring last year, and what it meant to be able to see how grateful he was for it.
Yeah, Sam, Jose, and I got together, and it was probably we'll come up with some lists with donors and people like that, and a lot of it becomes monetary. And guy donates 10 grand, he might get a ring and include them as a thank you. But this became, wow, we have the greatest baseball man in Tampa at our field every day, and to be able to honor him and to see his face in awe of receiving a ring was one of the best moves that Sam, Jose, and I have made with this program, is giving him a ring that day. He wore it proudly all the way to the end, all the way to the day before his passing. He had that ring on with his son holding his hand up a little bit and showing it proudly, and wearing his Tampa shirt with the 10 champion and his hat. And this is 24 hours before, with a smile on his face.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you're going out the way you deserve and the way you want. And that was a great move, getting him a ring. He puts our ring actually opens up. Yeah. And when Tony opens his ring up, you know what it is?
Yeah.
Picture of Bertha. And that's really what it was for me. He always would tell me, "I love you, and you know why." And the reason was always because Bertha was the next name out whenever I was talking with him, is how much he and Bertha have done for our city and for our county. So, really neat to have him put her picture inside our ring.
I mentioned it the other day, or yesterday, about how every single time I'd walk onto the field there, and it's always like a who's who, and it's all the alumni are there, and you could see Eric Beatty here, or this guy there, Ozzie here, and Gutcher there. Like, there's people all over, people I've known for 20 years, and even Julie, she's out there getting everybody going. But every single time before I'd even sit down, I'd walk up and I'd take the trek up, and I'd go and I'd shake Tony's hand, and it was just so important that you recognized him. And I know I wasn't the only one. There was a lot of people out. What was that like from your perspective to see not just you and Sam and Jose and everybody, but for other people to have that reverence? Because I feel like too many times in life, Joe, we wait until somebody, leaves us before we give them their flowers. But I thought our community as a whole, I thought everybody was very respectful. The ring's a great example. And everybody always showed Tony a lot of love. What was that like to see from your vantage point? Yeah,
it was great because he earned it. And, when you earn respect like that from your peers, that it's a pinnacle. It really is. And that's what he earned. When you walk into the gate, you're a busy man. You have a lot of people that you need to shake hands with, but you would always make sure he was first. And same goes for me. Tony Saladino final, I come to the game. He has his seat in the front row, and it's going over to give him a big bear hug, and excited that he's at the field, even though I get to see him a lot. it's about respect. And when you treat people the way he did, it's very easy. It's not going out of your way. It's just respect given back to the man that has has earned it.
And his house too. I mean, I was there a couple of years ago, and just to see all the things that he had there, I was always busting his chops. I'm like, dude, you have an Orestes Estrada picture next to George Bush. That is the most random thing I've ever seen in my entire life. But I mean, this guy, and people ask me, like, was he this fan or was he that fan? He was a baseball fan, like to his very core. Like, this is a guy that he eats, sleep, and breathe as much as his family. I'm not making light of how much, how important his family was, but this guy loved the game of baseball.
Yeah, you sit down talking to him when you walk, and we'd walk in the house. We were able to spend, 3 days with him towards the end, and walk in. He's watching the University of Tampa replays of the World Series, and you sit down. And he's like, Joe, go over there and look at that baseball. And you're right, it is baseballs from all over. Obviously the Mickey Mantles and the greats, but then there's one area. There's a foul ball he caught at the Savannah Banana Stadium before they became the road show that they are now. And 20 years later, his son caught a foul ball at the same stadium.
Oh my God!
So he has a memory from everything in baseball. Trick plays that were being done in the past. He showed me a video of that. So this is the best baseball man. I have been trying to explain to my wife, like, you don't understand. Al Lopez is one of the biggest names in Tampa. And when you talk about baseball in the United States, Tampa, the city of Tampa, is number one. And this man, tell me who's greater than this man in baseball in our city. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and the last time I got a chance to sit there with Tony, I went to Tampa General, and we sat there about a month ago, and that was one of the things that he really wanted to stress to me of how important Al Lopez was to him, growing up. And he was the man. He was so revered, and he was, I don't want to say worried, but he was just like, Jay, like, we need to make sure that we remind people of Al Lopez and remind people of like how important he was, and, a Hall of Famer, right? And he was telling me about getting a statue and how Ted Williams sent him. I'm like, Ted Williams sent you money for this? That, like, we have to, I think it's important. And I know you believe this with, Tony no longer being here. He's always going to be with us, but I think it's so important to continue to celebrate and remember the rich history of baseball we have in this area.
Yeah, and he passes a day before Al Lopez's birthday.
Unbelievable.
He wasn't going to do it on the same day and steal any thunder. So we, two icons in our city. We're very fortunate, obviously this man's going to be missed at all of our University of Tampa games. But much love for the whole family. They know we're all here for them, and look forward to getting together with them here once everything settles down.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. All right, before I let you go, just tell me where kind of you're at as far as getting ready for championship number 11, pal, because I know it was an incredible summer, well documented, being able to go watch you guys in Cary. Definitely a couple of days that I won't ever forget. But now, I mean, I know it doesn't take long for you and Sam and Jose to kind of turn the page. Where are we at as far as preparation for next season?
So the kids come to school Monday, and that'll be the first team meeting, and we'll start, setting the tone and the message for a three-peat has never been done at the Division II level.
Whoa!
I believe it's been done once at the Division I level, and there's no hiding from it. That will be the goal, and it's 22 new players that we've brought in. So. How important building a family is here, and we're going to work hard to get these 22 new guys on board and learn what the Tampa family is all about.
Is there anybody that's going to be trying for the three-peat with you guys? Any players? Woody?
Oh yes, Woody. Woody Maddox King.
Oh yeah, Maddox. Yeah. Okay, wow.
So we there'll be two of our leaders up the middle. We know how important that is. So excited to have those two back. Our catchers back that won it last year. So we're strong up the middle. Brought in a lot of pitching depth because that was what we lost all of our all of our top 3 starters, our top bullpen guys. So a lot of unanswered questions, but they'll be here Monday, and we'll get to work and start trying to rebuild another championship.
And I'll be there every step of the way, following you guys and cheering you on, my brother. Thank you so much for your time today. The University of Tampa head baseball coach, Joe Urso, the best, not just the best coach I know, but one of the best human beings I know. Thank you, my brother. Give my love to Julie and everybody, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Jay.
You got it, pal. The one and only Joe Urso, man. It just doesn't get much better than that. He is the man, and nobody else that I would rather talk to about the legacy and the life of the late, great Tony Saladino. And I didn't want to say that with Joe on, but he's one of those guys too. I mean, you can't write the history of Tampa baseball without our guy Joe Urso and his friendship, his mentorship. Like, there's a common thread amongst people that are successful in life. Forget about baseball, forget about sports. And Joe's always been that guy. He's always been there for me as a friend, and fantastic life advice, and just, again, no stranger to success and great things. I'm a firm believer that great things happen to great people, and they just don't make them any better than our pal Joe Urso. All right, that's going to wrap things up for me. I got to get ready for the Beckles and Recher podcast. I also got baseball practice today. Wednesdays are busy, but I love it. I can't get enough. A big thank you to Joe Urso, Doug Waechter, and Casey Phillips. What a lineup of guests on the program today. We'll post all the interviews up on our page on the YouTube channel right here, so make sure you like and subscribe. Follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I am everywhere. 3:00 today, we'll have the Beckles and Recher podcast, so you can check that out as well. We have Martin Grammatica locked in for Friday. We have more irons in the fire Thursday and Friday as well. We know we're going to have a blast here on the program. A big thank you to Evolve Official and Jonathan Rivera for the super chats. Guys, that's how we're going to keep this puppy going, is if you contribute to the program, either being a sponsor or being helping us out with the super chat. Let's keep it going, man. I feel like the momentum is really, really doing it's going well. And football season is right around the corner. All right. I love you guys. Check out our guy Parker Messick at 3:40 today for Cleveland against the Arizona Diamondbacks. And we'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on the Jay Recher podcast. I'm gone.